Hi, it's Lisa back from our shabby cottage with a couple more crafts for the kitchen. When you are at a thrift store or a garage sale or even the dollar store, don't pass these graters up. They're usually very inexpensive and there's just a lot that you can do with them. Now, if this grater were old and had a little natural patina on it, I would probably leave it as is. But since we have this newer finish, I'm going to create a rust patina. Now, I'm starting with some regular apple barrel craft paint in the color Honey. And I'm just going to put a coat on this. And we're going to be layering it up, so, it doesn't matter to me that it isn't covering real good. I'm just going to put a coat on everything, and I'm getting down inside some, just what you can see. You're not going to see a whole lot, but I'm just getting down inside somewhat. Now, I did let this dry, but now I'm going to come back with some darker. This is coffee bean. And I'm just going to haphazardly put some of that darker on this because I want to give it some layers of color. So we're just going to haphazardly put that color on. I apologize for my voice. I've had some sinus stuff going on. But anyway, so here I am just putting some more of that coffee bean color on, and then I'll give that some time to dry. I'm not gonna worry about putting any of that inside there. Just put some on each side and the handle a little, and that's gonna be enough for me. You'll be amazed, guys, at this finish, how much it resembles rust. And it's so simple to do. Now I'm letting I'll let this darker color dry also, and then I'm just using regular Elmer's school glue. Now Mod Podge is what I generally use, but I'm just using school glue. It works just as well. And I'm just kind of, again, haphazardly putting that on in places. Covering the whole thing somewhat, but putting little thicker blotches of it here and there so that the rust piles up on that. So just do that on all sides and on the handle, and then we'll move on to the next step. And the next step is going to surprise you, what we're going to use, unless you've seen this done before. We're just literally using cinnamon powder, any brand, and you can see I'm using an off-brand here. This is very cost-effective because a little goes a long way, and what is left over in my plate, I just dump back into the cinnamon bottle, so it's very cost-effective. So we're just going to sprinkle that cinnamon, and that's why I have my grater on a plate here. We're just going to sprinkle that cinnamon over all that wet glue. Now I did this also in white, and it's very pretty in white. I'm just using white chalk paint, and it takes a couple of coats. I didn't do that on camera because it's kind of self-explanatory, but it also works real pretty with white. So we'll just sprinkle that over all of it. Now I kind of pat it in places to make sure that it holds good. And I'm going back here and putting on some more glue, some little glops of glue here and there, because we're going for a really layered look. And the more layers, the more authentic it looks. So I'm just adding glue here and there and more cinnamon, and then I'll go back and add more of that coffee bean. because rust is not just one color. It kind of has different layers of color, and that's what helps it look more authentic. But again, I'm just going to kind of blot that coffee bean color on as well, and then we'll put cinnamon over the coffee bean, and it just adds some layers of color, and that's really going to help make it look more authentic. And that paint will just kind of help hold it on just like the glue would. It's just going to dry onto that paint, and we're going to be sealing this anyway, so it's going to hold. It's going to hold well. Now you can use this finish on anything almost. I've even done it on plastic, and you can make a plastic bowl look like a rusty metal bowl. It's really effective on a lot of different surfaces. So once I get this finished the way I want it, then I let it dry, and I did let mine dry for a couple hours, and then I just took it outside and sprayed it with a coat of clear matte finish. You don't want anything shiny here. So I just used a clear matte finish and sprayed it, and I think I put a couple of coats on it. You could probably get away with one, but I think I put a couple of coats on mine. And then while I let that dry, then I was ready to start with the next project, which is a sifter. Now my sifter, as you can see, already has an old patina on it. It isn't rusted, but it has that old patina, and because of that, I'm not gonna touch that, but I am gonna dress it up with a little snowman because I want to display it with my graters, and so I'm just adding a little chalk, a little snowman out of chalk paint. Now if I wanted to take this off later, it's chalk paint, so I could just soak it in warm sudsy water and just a little bit of elbow grease, and that would come right off. So I'm not worried about ruining my grater. I can just take that off later if I decide I don't want it on there. Now I hope you guys are enjoying the content that I'm putting out, and as I always say, if you have any suggestions, please feel free to drop it in the comments, and or anything that I can do differently. I see lots and lots of room for improvement, and I know you guys do. But if you see anything that you think I might do different, please let me know. And if you haven't already subscribed to my channel, please do so, and leave a comment, and like and share. All that helps my channel grow, and I really appreciate all of you doing that. Now here I'm just putting a little face on it, and I'm just going to keep him simple because I just want to put enough on this that I can display it and it make a cute little kitchen arrangement. If you haven't painted these little snowmen, it's so simple. I mean, snowmen are something that anybody can paint, because you can go as detailed as you want, or you can go as simple as you want. And when it comes to primitive painting, as long as it's recognizable as a snowman, then anything goes. They're very simple to paint. I love to use kitchen items, especially old kitchen items, to display for Christmas in the kitchen. And it's getting harder and harder to find these. So when you find an old one like this, it's kind of a treasure. But again, you can use the newer ones. If you can find the newer ones that are made like the older ones, you can either do that rust finish on them, or there's ways of making new metal look aged. And I'll share that one day with y'all. There's some simple ways to do that also. It's just, a little more time consuming. Just putting a simple scarf on here. I'm just going to keep it red. and some buttons, and that's pretty much all he's going to have. I think this sifter would look really good on a Christmas tree. If you do a Christmas tree in the kitchen, I don't. I don't do a decorated tree in the kitchen. I have little trees all over my home, but I only have one that I decorate, the one in the living room, because it's the only larger one, and I like little trees all throughout the house in different containers, and I think just changing a container, just putting a tree in a container makes all the difference in the world, and coming up with, I'm just highlighting the scarf here. It just kind of helps it stand out better with a little bit of white. But I think putting trees in crocks and buckets and boxes, there's so many things that you can put trees in, and it just gives it a really neat look. Now here I'm just adding some antiquing wax because I want him to look primitive, and he was a little, even though I used an off-white, he's a little too white to suit me. So I'm just putting that antiquing wax on and wiping it off. And then that's all that I'm going to do with that snowman. Now if you get too much on, just do like I did and wipe it off. I think here I'm even adding a little bit of water on my rag so that it'll wipe more of that antiquing wax off, because I didn't dilute it like I do sometimes. I just went straight out of the can. So I'm just kind of wiping a little excess off here so that it isn't brown. I just want it to be kind of grungy looking. So now I'm back to this grater. It's dry now. So now we're just going to dress it up. So I'll just cut little bits off some picks. You're using very little greenery here. And I'm just going to glue those little pieces together to kind of make a little mini spray. It doesn't take very much. I'm just going to glue a few pieces together, and I want to keep this really rustic, so I'm not going to add much, and pine cone makes a real good kind of a country pick. So now I'm going to take some jute and tie around this. I know that this is simple here, but I don't want to add much greenery here because I don't want it to take away from the grater, and I am going to be adding some fabric strips to it, so it's going to have enough color to suit me. But here I'm just tying that string on there so that I can attach it to the handle on one side of my grater. And then we're just going to tie it there on the side at the top of the grater. And now you could go through some of the holes and drop it down a little bit. For me, I'm going to be going back and adding a tag. So here on the top worked well for me. Kind of play with that and put it, let it hang the way you want it to. That's kind of the case with any greenery that you add to these items. You just kind of work with where you want it to lay. But because this is such a simple little piece of greenery, it doesn't take much to get it adjusted the way it needs to be. Now I'm just going to add some string. You could use burlap at this point, or any string, but I felt like this one needed some color, one, because it's got all this brown on it already, but also I wanted to marry it to my other items so that they can be displayed together well. Now I'm just going to tie a simple bow on this. I don't want to do anything special with the bows because it's primitive and we want to keep it simple. Now we'll come back later and add a tag to this, but right now we're going to move on to our grater again. Now Now, I cut out some footage accidentally on this grater, but honestly, all that I had done is tied a little strip of fabric around the top of the grater that I had just kind of ripped instead of cut. And so there it is. I just tied it there to the side. Didn't even add a bow to that. It's just tied there on the side. Now, at this point, you could add a hang tag on it. You know, it could say, let it snow or whatever. I didn't, but I'm just going to add this greenery again to kind of marry these pieces together. I'm just going to put the same type of greenery on it. But you could do anything you wanted at this point to dress it up. This is just going to work for my arrangement. Again, I'm sorry about my voice. I feel like it just keeps getting deeper and deeper. I'm actually feeling much better, and my voice always does this. It sounds crazy when I'm getting better, not when I'm actually sick. So again, I'm just gluing those pieces together, and I'm going to attach them there where I tied that string. And that little bit of greenery, and I think I add a few berries on this, is really all that this little item needs to display well. Now, I would add that tag if I weren't going to display it with this arrangement. If I were maybe going to display it by itself, it would add a cute little touch to it to put a little grungy tag on it. But for me, in the way that I'm going to display it, this is going to be enough. And I add a little bit of berries there at the end. I could probably have gotten away without that, but I just wanted to add plenty of color to this. See how cute that is? And like I said, at this point, I do add just a little bit of berries to it. I like to add berries to my Christmas crafts where I'm decorating with red. And just play with that. Get the look that you want. I felt like it needed more, so I did add those berries. But then that's really all that you need to do. And this is where your creativity can shine. I mean, make this your own. Add the colors that you want, and the embellishments that you want, and just make it your own. And now that we're finished with this sifter, we'll move back to our grater. And all I'm doing now is just adding a little hang tag. I printed some clip art off and glued it to a piece of craft paper, or a craft hang tag actually, and tie that on, and that'll be all that I'll be doing to this grater. And then I'll show you what they all look like displayed together. And I put a light in one of them, the white one, only because I didn't have an extra light to go in this one. But these displayed on your countertop at night when the light is off, and those lights shining through the holes create a beautiful effect on the walls. I hope you've enjoyed this video, and I hope to see you in the next one. Have a great day, and God bless.